Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm the purple face. I'm Ann Shaughnessy in Mount Prospect Public Library, local history genealogy librarian.
Okay, great. Thanks for being here, Anne. And Anne is one of our co-hosts tonight, and also Tina. Would you like to introduce yourself, Tina?
Absolutely. I'm Tina Beard. I'm the genealogy and local history librarian at the Plainfield Public Library.
Okay, and then Anita is one of our other co-hosts.
Last but not least, I'm Anita Drilling, and I'm the local history genealogy librarian at Joliet Public.
Wonderful. Okay, and so before we get started, I would like to ask all of our participants if you would make sure that your chat is set to everyone, and you can find your chat if you're not familiar with Zoom. Give me a second, and I will figure out where the chat is. It's down on the bottom bar, all the way at the bottom of the screen. There's a little speech bubble that says chat. If you click on that and make sure it's set to everyone, if you would just type in which library you belong to, just so we can keep track of which of our patrons are here tonight and kind of have that information for us, that would be really helpful. Okay, so we've got Oak Lawn, Joliet, Naperville, Prospect Heights. Wonderful. It's so exciting to have genealogists from all around the state on one conference call, isn't it? It's so cool. Awesome. Okay, and so while everybody's doing that, we, let's see here. So we're going to talk, I think this is probably going to go about an hour, so probably until about 7 if we get enough questions to keep it going that long, or we can find enough things to talk about. So just to get started, I guess social media has been kind of an integral part of my family history research, probably for about the last 6 or 7 years. I think it helps that I'm just there all the time, so it became a really natural place to talk about genealogy and to kind of look for clues for my genealogy research. And so I am excited to hear about how some of you all have been using social media to kind of facilitate your research as well. And so let's talk about some of the benefits of genealogy and just maybe where you go, or of social media for genealogy, and where you go when you use social media for genealogy. So which websites or platforms do you use? And do you have any that you use offhand?
Also with Facebook.
Facebook?
It had some, my cousins had posted things like home movies that I'd never seen before. It was a real emotional experience to see my mom was a young woman before I was born. So that was really, and that there wouldn't have been any other way that we could have seen it. You know, it would have been a lot harder to get a copy of it. So that was my important time on social media.
That's awesome. How cool. And to get to like interact with your cousins and your other relatives over that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all my cousins who live in the Chicago area, but we don't see each other. So that it does help to have that connection. Very
cool. How about you, Anita? Do you usually use a certain social media platform when you're doing your genealogy?
I haven't been using social networking or social websites to do genealogy for very long. So where you've been using that sort of platform for 6 or 7 years, I'm reasonably new to that, but I find that it's really interesting when it's just posing a question and you get answers from other people that may be near or maybe far. I mean, but then interacting with those is going.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. And how about you, Tina? Which are your favorite platforms to use?
It depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I use different social media sites for different things. So I'll use LinkedIn if I'm looking for, new webinars, conferences that are coming up. If I'm looking for professional organizations or sites to join, I'll log into LinkedIn and I'll use LinkedIn. I use Facebook a lot before I travel. So let's say I'm going to go to Elsnore, Missouri, where I have ancestors. I can hop on Facebook and contact their genealogical or historical society and say, hey, I'm coming down. I know you're only open on Saturdays. Is it possible to make an appointment? Or where's the best place to stay? Where should I have lunch? So I'll use Facebook for that kind of quick communication, because a lot of small societies don't have websites. That's really, even Plainfield. I'm on the board for the Plainfield Historical Society. We still don't have a website in 2020. So if you need to reach us, that's how you have to do it. So I'll use it for that kind of thing. I do belong to a family closed genealogy group that's on Facebook. But then I'll use Pinterest if I need something visual, like top 5 resources for Scottish genealogy, or, best genealogy books of 2019. So it depends. I'll use different sites for different things, but I do have to use more than one, because people who are on Twitter aren't necessarily people who are on Pinterest or on Instagram. So
Yeah, that's an important point.
Yeah.
Everybody is on everything. I don't know how people can keep up, but
yeah, I always tell people when I teach my social media class, pick 3. You don't need to be everywhere. Just pick 3.
Yeah.
And, that's usually enough. You're going to find people who are more prone to post to one than the other. So you're not missing much. But if you try to do the whole litany of them, you'll drive yourself crazy, or you'll never get anything done.
Right.
That's me.
That's why I can't be on Pinterest.
oh, yeah.
Because it's like that vortex that just slowly sucks you in.
It's totally, it's just like a black hole of, and you'll start with genealogy, and then all of a sudden you'll be looking at knitting patterns, and then from there, for me anyway, it's I wonder if I could build a spinning wheel. That'd be pretty cool. It just goes.
Yeah, and then I'm going to look at 25 people's boards that they've pinned on how to build a spinning wheel.
Right. So I think another thing that kind of gets overlooked when we talk about social media is that a lot of the genealogy websites actually have social media functions built into them. I mean, I think Family Search is the really obvious one, right? They have created this platform that creates this one massive family tree, and then allows us to kind of interact with each other's research through the family tree interface. And so the really obvious point is where they have that, oh, I forget what it's actually called. I think it's called collaboration tab, but it usually is just the arguments that people have over specific details. Right?
Is it really petty? If it is, I'm going to have to check it out.
So petty. It's no.
You misspelled that name. It should have an E on the end of it.
Have an AU instead of an OW. It changed in the 1600s. It changes that now. So they archive all of them, so you can see the whole history of the back and forth between these different things. But I mean, technically that could be a really cool feature, and maybe it will evolve into one in the future. But also, I mean, sometimes, and I don't know if any of you have experienced this, I'll log on, and while there are definite pitfalls like the pettiness to having a giant shared family tree, sometimes I'll log on and a whole branch of my family will have photographs that I've never seen before in my life.
Yeah, I've never gotten that lucky.
Exciting is that? Oh, I had I think 10 new photographs one day when I logged on. I was so excited. And then what's really cool also is that it gives you that list on your sidebar on the right hand side of the screen of how all the information got entered in, and kind of an activity log on that individual. And it gives you the name of the user who made the changes. And so if that user's privacy settings are set so that you can contact them, you can send them a message, and it doesn't have to be about correcting their information. It could just be, hey, thanks for that photo. That was amazing. I think we're cousins. And so I've found that that's been really great. And we have a closed Facebook family group as well. And that's been a major way to gotten people there. So yeah, and I think Ancestry kind of has some similar features where you can reach out by message to different users, and there are a couple others. I don't know, have either or any of you used WikiTree for your family history research at all?
Which one?
WikiTree?
No.
I can
I looked at it when I was doing my heritage, because they program on my heritage, because they linked one of my cousins used WikiTree.
Okay.
I think they do have that option up there.
Yeah, so WikiTree is kind of neat. I think it has kind of the same pros as Family Search does, as far as like allowing you to kind of collaborate and build these trees. But what's kind of cool is that each of the individual ancestor profiles, and I don't know if I can find one on here. Oh, you know what? I'm not even sure. I don't spend a lot of time on here, but what's kind of neat is that, anyway, each of the individual family profiles has a manager. So that person gets requests for change information or for people to be able to view that information, and then they have to okay it and add the information to the tree. So it gives a little bit more control, so it's not quite as touch and go as Family Search can be with accuracy. And they kind of, it's a little bit more intimidating, I think, to use because of that, but it also has a little bit more in the way of privacy settings too. So for living ancestors, you can set the level of privacy, or for your entire family tree, you can set the level of privacy. So I think it's got some really cool functionality, and it's definitely got the potential to be used as a collaborative family tree tool, I guess.
I've never used that. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah, no problem.
Making a note to myself.
And I think
as far as helping other people to do their genealogy, and using Facebook, you can ask people on various sites. For instance, in Joliet, there's a Joliet history site. I'm on a Joliet history site for Keokuk, Iowa, which is a little town I used to live in. And you can actually converse with people and say, you know, my patron is looking for such and such person. Have you ever heard of them? Do you have them in any of your library records? And then you get that answer back. And that's kind of cool. And I'm assuming that, you know, if we went to all the towns in the world, that there might be quite a few of them that have some sort of history site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or
would you use that the Facebook link over an email link when you're asking for that kind of information?
Well, not if I'm emailing the library for information. I would email the library if I'm going to a specific place. But, you know, if I'm just asking to find out if anybody knows anything, and just throwing it out there, Facebook has tended to work. Is that what you were asking me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that lends itself to crowdsourcing too. I mean, because really Facebook is probably the quickest way to crowdsource for information. So whether that's among your own relatives, hey, I've got this photo, I know this is dad, who else is in it? Or exactly like Anita said, you know, I've got a photo from Wahoo, Nebraska. I'm going to send it to their Historical Society Facebook page and ask if they or any of their members who might live out of state recognize that place, that person, that, you know, whatever, that organization, whatever it might happen to be. And there are some places that really, really do that well. So you look at the National Archives. The National Archives are on every social media platform you can think of. Same thing with Library of Congress. So, you know, they're on Blogger, they're on Facebook, they're on Pinterest, they're on Twitter, they're on ones I've never even heard of before. Mm-hmm. And each one of those gives the opportunity to connect with people who might not be on Facebook, might not be on Pinterest, but they're taking that same information and putting it across all platforms so that there might be that one person who can identify that particular thing. And I think truly as genealogists and as historians, because yeah, we're genealogists, but we're also family historians. And a lot of us at our libraries are our local historian as well, that's really a very quick, in real time way to get that information and that feedback.
Absolutely. And I think there are some even just genealogy groups out there. There's a Dutch genealogy group I use on Facebook, and I had this postcard that I found I inherited my great grandmother's scrapbook that I literally didn't know existed until it was given to me. And there was a postcard in it that was written entirely in Dutch, and I just scanned it and put it up there, and they were able to identify who it went to, who it came from, what it said within minutes. It was amazing.
Great.
Yeah, so cool. And so especially if you have things in another language, taking it to Facebook can be an amazing resource because there are so many bilingual genealogists out there who are just excited to help.
Mm-hmm. And besides just using Facebook for things like, I'm going to go to the National Archives site, or I'm going to go to the Chicago Genealogical Society site, you're right, there are a lot of these organizations out there that might be small organizations that you didn't know existed, you know, that can provide that kind of information. Or like Random Acts of Genealogical Kindness. How many of you are on the Random Acts of Genealogical Kindness Facebook page, or their website, or their other social media platforms? Those are all of us out there doing research for free just because we want to help out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunities for that.
Another fabulous one is Lost and Found Photographs on Facebook, where people go to thrift stores and rummage sales and wherever they find photographs and post those photos. And I've seen so many people connect with old photos of their relatives. It's amazing.
They've got a Flickr account too.
That's another really good one. Yeah. So Elizabeth is asking regarding the National Archives, do you post somewhere at the National Archives and it's dispersed across several media sites?
They have an absolutely amazing social media department, and each department of the National Archives has kind of their own social media experts, people, just like with Library of Congress. So if it's the maps collection, they've got somebody in their maps collection that's doing social media across multiple platforms, whether it's, you know, moving videos, whether it's military records, whether it's prints and photographs. They have somebody in that department who's doing it. So if you can find them on social media, let's say you're on Twitter and that's your predominant social media platform that you use, all you have to do is pull them up on Twitter and send them or ask them a question or post a photo, and, you know, they'll respond. What I love about the National Archives and Library of Congress too is that they have like their own little widgets. So if you go to the Facebook page for the Library of Congress, instead of using the messenger within Facebook, there's its own little widget that pops up and says, what can we answer for you today? Which I think is phenomenal. That it's staffed 12 hours a day, I think 11 hours a day until 8 p.m. And, you know, they'll take your question, and if they can't answer it, they'll farm it out to the department that would be responsible for it. And it's just cool how quickly you can get a response from such a vast institution.
I think it takes
Library of Congress is great, and National Archives has something very, very similar.
And doesn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, because I think you know more about this than me, but don't they have that History Hub website on the National Archives too? So that's kind of like, I think they usually try to use it more for like quick reference questions, but there's a message board feature where you can post things, and people, just history buffs or employees from the National Archives, will try their best to get you an answer. So Anne is asking, are they accepting requests for records through Facebook, or are those still only through their website?
They'll probably tell you to go to the website. They'll do, like you were just saying, they'll do quick reference questions. Here's the record group, here's the box, here's the folder, but you'd probably still have to submit the slip through the website or by email. Because I know when I request stuff from the National Archives, like in St. Louis, I don't fill out the form on the National Archives website. I email them directly a copy of the form, and they usually get back to me within 24 hours.
Okay. Awesome. So, so speaking of, we were kind of talking about Facebook and its benefits. I was going to show you guys some examples from my family's social media group. I couldn't get permission because of privacy issues to show you the actual page, although I tried, I promise. But, you know, we genealogists, I think, are all a little bit paranoid because we all know how easy it is to find everybody's information out there. So let me just show you some screenshots here if I can get my screen to work. All right. Okay, can you see it?
There it is.
Okay, so this is a picture of the albums on my family's Facebook page, and we've got about 100 people that are part of this group. And so one of the first things, we're very lucky because this side of the family, their last name is Peacock, there's a long line of photographers. It was 4 generations of professional photographers, so we've got a lot of photographs, which is really, really nice. The trouble comes in that a lot of the photographs were taken for clients. So they may not be our family, or they may be of landscapes elsewhere in the US. My great-grandpa traveled the US and took photographs during the Great Depression. So so we don't know all the time who they are, or what's going on with that. And so let's see, I'm not really sure how to get it to, oh, there we go. So this was like a big one. We had this picture, we didn't know who it was. We kind of recognized the landscape. We figured it was the family homestead, but we weren't really sure much else. Now, my family, somebody had sent this photograph to my dad and had said, guess who? It was the caption. So we were like, well, we can't guess. So he posted it in this group, and immediately one of his cousins, and I'm not sure if you can read this or not, said, oh, I know the story behind that. The neighbors were so nosy that Alice Kropp, who's my great-grandmother, before she became married, dressed up like a man and had this photo taken of her. So it was to confuse the neighbors. I would have never in a billion years guessed that was my great-grandmother. But the minute I saw it and heard that story, I was like, oh, there she is. I mean, somebody I met even. And so we had a bunch of these mystery pictures, and you can see the 2 of the little babies. Now, we're still not sure if those are the same child or if they're clients that one of my ancestors took pictures of. We really don't know yet. But what's nice is that we can use that hive mind to kind of figure that out. And people can kind of comment and make guesses and try to compare it to other photos throughout the other albums. And then this was another really neat story that social media brought us together with. So one of my great-grandfather's brothers was in the Spanish-American War, and he fell in love with a woman in South America named Maria, and his mother would not have anything to do with it. She was livid. So he ended up moving to go live with her and married her, and changed his name from William Peacock to Guillermo Pavo Real. And we lost him entirely. We could never find him again. We didn't know where he went. We didn't know he changed his name. He just disappears because, you know, you don't always see the records of all of those things. Until one day, the gentleman in the bottom right 2 pictures there, Victor, who is my grandmother's cousin, got in contact with us and said, hey, I think we're related. It turns out that he knew the whole story. He knew why his father had left, why they lived in separation from the family, and he wanted to reunite with everybody. So we threw a big family reunion, and we all got to meet him, and he's just a joy. He's a wonderful person. I'm so glad we have had the opportunity to get to know him and their side of the family. So really cool things. I mean, we've got now dozens of cousins through him that we never knew we had. Cool things you can find out. And that's all I had on the Facebook group for now, but I thought I'd share some of the benefits anyway. So have you guys found anything cool through using social media or talking to anybody else? Anything unexpected that you couldn't find a different way?
I don't think I have found anything that really advanced my personal research, but I know that I've certainly been able to help a variety of people connect with their families and, you know, find information, you know, on the branches of their family that they're researching through some of these little tiny historical societies and groups and organizations.
So there you
go. I'm still waiting for that moment for me.
Yeah. But I mean, for everybody who's watching this, use Facebook because Tina's out there waiting to help you.
Because I got nothing but time. Right now, I really do have nothing but time.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are feeling that way right now. Very cool. And I mean, I think another thing that's kind of neat is, I mean, the photographs were really cool, but the other thing that I found that I was not expecting through social media, and actually this came through social media from a small historical society. There is a historical society in Michigan who they had a bunch of scrapbooks that they had been keeping with newspaper clippings over the years, and they had decided to digitize them all and post them on their Facebook page. And so it just so happened that I found it actually through a Google search, one of my ancestors' last names. And it turns out that this ancestor had been in the newspaper several times because she was going around to different schools with her spinning wheel. She had one of those gigantic walking wheels with the big, huge wheel that takes up like, they're like 8 feet long. You have to actually stand to use them. And she would take it around the state to all the state fairs and all the schools and teach the kids what it was like to make yarn in the pioneer days. And in one of the articles, it explained that that spinning wheel had actually been in her family since 1691 and had come over from England through her great-great-grandfather, who is my 6-time great-grandfather or something like that. So we found out that there's this whole, like, there's this heirloom spinning wheel out there that, I mean, we still haven't found out where it is now, but that went down through her children, presumably. That still exists from the 1600s, which was just, I mean, for me, you know, and my Pinterest spirals, it was so exciting.
It's not social media related, but if you ever go out to Tom Trankina's site, you know, Fulton Postcards, besides all the newspapers that he has digitized, have you ever looked at the scrapbook collection, the photograph album collection he has on his website?
No.
So I was perusing through these, and at the bottom, there's 5 or 6. They're just labeled as unidentified scrapbooks. And I clicked on one of them, and I could see from what he had posted on it that it was from Amsterdam, New York, which is the area one of the families I was researching was from. And I'm flipping through the scrapbook, and I'm at the library, I'm at the reference desk. So I'm kind of half-heartedly focused on that because I'm helping other people. And I clicked on the next page, and there was this woman's photo that came up. And I tell this story in a lot of my classes. This woman was so heinously ugly that it like snapped me into hyper focus. I was like, whoa. And it took me a minute, like, is that a man? Like, what is going on here? So it caught my full attention. So when I went to the next page, I was like, wait, I know that woman, not the ugly one, the next one. And I was like, no, that's impossible. This is an unidentified album. And I'm clicking through, and a couple images later, I'm like, holy cats, that I think I know who this is. And by the time I got to the end of the album, there were like 13 photos of people that I had an album for 15 years later than this album was. So I contacted him right away. I said, I believe this is the Burnett family. Here's why I think that. And I did like a screenshot of his photo and a screenshot of the photo that I had. And he was like, absolutely, I think you're 100% correct. And I said, well, can I buy the album off of you? And he's like, no, unfortunately, I've already sold it. He says, but I can send you better scans. So he did. He sent me better scans, and I was able to share that with the family. But if it wasn't for this truly remarkable lady, like, my attention wouldn't have been there. I would have just gone through the album and never thought anything of it. So kind of tear back to what you were saying, that you never know where that breakthrough is going to come from. So, you know, being able to share this photo album with the family to say, here are your same relatives 15 years earlier than the album you have, was pretty remarkable.
That's amazing. That's such a cool coincidence. And isn't that how it feels always when we make these big breakthroughs we aren't expecting? Like, it always just feels like it's like a magical coincidence of some kind.
And I just wish one day it's for me.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
It will be. So Art is asking, are your patrons usually interested in using social media for their research?
Hit or miss. I hate to say it depends on the age, but I think it depends on the tech savviness of the person. I have, I don't know if any of you up north remember Bobby, who passed away last year, who was very active in Lake County, McHenry County genealogical societies. You know, she was in her 90s. And she was as tech savvy and as quick as anybody I've ever met.
Mhm.
And then there are plenty of people who are in their, 50s who are like, oh, I never touched this stuff. So it just depends. I mean, it's always out there as an option, but it's that whole you can lead a horse to water kind of thing, but you can't make him drink.
That's true. I think that there are huge concerns about privacy too, especially when we hear about, well, I mean, I think we all know that a lot of our data is being farmed for advertising and different things, no matter where we put it. But Facebook's definitely one of the biggest offenders. And so
Most definitely.
there's a fear, I think, there
Mm.
too.
How many of you have gone in and have edited and changed your privacy settings from the standard? So each site has its own set of privacy settings. So whether you're using LinkedIn, who has the most settings that you could truly go in and lock down all kinds of things because it's a professional site, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Pinterest, whether it's Flickr, whether it's Gmail, Facebook, are actually going in and touching each one of those settings to make sure that you're protecting yourself to the best of your ability. If you haven't, if you're still going off straight off of the kind of generic settings when you sign in, those don't benefit you, those benefit them. So you have to make sure that you're going in and touching those so that you're protecting yourself as well as you can. I always tell my students when I teach this particular class, don't ever sign into anything with your Facebook account. So you know how you go to the Washington Post, you go to the New York Times, and it says, do you want to sign in with Facebook or Pinterest? Absolutely not. Create your own Gmail. I prefer Gmail because it has a tendency to not get spammed as much. But I have my own online social media login email account, and I only use it for stuff I do online. That way, if it happens to get hacked, big deal. They're not getting my friends, my family, my contact, my credit card. They're not getting any of that information out of it. So like my husband, I always tease because he's a network security analyst. So his job is to make sure his company doesn't get hacked. He has an account that's called John Doe, D-O-U-G-H. I don't know how many letters and numbers after it, just for stuff that he does online, just to make sure that he's protected. If he orders something online and they get his credit card number, it can't be traced back to anything else. So I always recommend people do that. That way it protects you, it protects, because you know how when you're on Facebook and it says, play this game. And then when you play that game, it wants to send a message to all of your contacts. Well, if you're logging in with a dedicated account that doesn't have any contacts associated with it, you're not putting anybody else at risk.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I feel like if nothing else, this whole Zoom chat was worth it just to hear that. I think those are all excellent tips. No, I'm serious though.
It pays to be married to somebody who's paranoid.
There's so much, I mean, it's so scary out there. And I think especially when you aren't sure what you're looking at or like what the risks are, it seems like a lot scarier world. And so it pays to be informed, really. And so Anne is asking, she says, I'm in several Facebook groups that focus on DNA results as a tool for genealogy. Some are adoptees, for example, others focus on Irish DNA, Polish DNA, and so on. Oh, I guess that wasn't a question so much as a comment. That's awesome, Anne. I don't know a lot about DNA, but I think that social media is a great use for DNA research, especially because it connects you to so many living people. So you have a lot more people you can network with and collaborate with when you're doing your historical research.
Have any of you gotten your DNA results back, MyHeritage, Ancestry, or whatever it is, and they've never created a tree, and you're frustrated as all get out because it says you're a super close match and yet there's nothing for you to compare to?
Yeah.
Social media. Start looking for them.
Please make a tree, Anne says. Yes, please make a tree.
But truly, social media is great for kind of finding those people who, they're out there, but they're not responding after 6 months to your tree to please, please, please let us know how we're related.
Yes. So let's see. So are there any like genealogists or historians that you guys follow personally on social media that you think are helpful?
Oh.
I know there are a couple of really great genealogy societies out there, and a couple of museums that do really great social media too. I know we mentioned the National Archives, Wisconsin Historical Society. If any of you have Wisconsin ancestors, they do such a good job, and they actually have a separate photographs account. They have like a massive photographs collection there, and they do some of the funniest posts they historically have done. I think they were funny on social media before really there was a lot of, I mean, I think like back when lolcats first came out, like back in like 2006, like they were like the only other funny institution you could follow, and they have just historically done a really great job. They're fun to follow, they're informative, they have really quick response time, and I've got a lot of Wisconsin ancestors, so I use them. And then there's some other ones I know. I was a board member when Next Gen Genealogy Network started up with them and helped them launch their website and their social media presence. And they do a lot of fun stuff. I think they've quieted down a bit in the last few years, but one thing, and we're going to try to do this coming up here. I should have pulled up the actual date so I could tell you when, but we're going to actually at Algonquin, and anybody's welcome to join this. We normally have our genealogy interest group meeting, which is just like a fun drop-in where everybody gets to use their computer lab. I think most of you guys have those at your library too. We're going to try to do it on Twitter. So we're going to have a tweet up for genealogists, and anybody's welcome to come. If you're interested in coming, you can just shoot me an email. My email is Tara, Tara CAJACOB. I can spell my name, I swear to God. It's been a long month, guys. At aapld.org. And I will put that in the chat box too, so you guys have it. Shoot me an email and I'll send you the hashtag, and all you'll do is just log on to Twitter that night, use the hashtag, follow it through the search box, and you can interact with all the other genealogists. It'll be lots of fun. But there are lots of places that do cool things like that too. Lots of genealogy societies and museums.
Thomas McEntee I follow on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook. If you're on Twitter, follow the Redheaded Genealogist. I'll put out a plug there for my friend Amber Oldenburg out in Indianapolis. She's fantastic. Trying to think of anybody else off the top of my head that I follow. I do follow a lot of groups. So things like PRONI, the Public Records Office of Northern Ireland, they've got a fantastic Flickr page and they update that with all kinds of cool photos pretty regularly. National Library of Scotland, National Library of Ireland are all really active on social media. Again, Library of Congress is really active. So I follow them across a number of platforms. One of those that I follow and I sometimes wish I don't follow is Find a Grave on Facebook, because it seems like my feed is largely clogged with Find a Grave posts. But it's certainly definitely one worth following. Again, Random Acts of Genealogical Kindness, is a really active one where they're asking some really good questions.
I found a number of things I wouldn't have found anywhere else, but on Find a Grave. And it's not meant to share all that much information, but sometimes what you can glean from that can make your search much easier.
Mm-hmm. Back to what Tara was saying about the Wisconsin history, they've got a fantastic maps collection up on Flickr as well. So there's a lot of people, organizations, museums, libraries that are up in Flickr that have historic collections up there. It's not always just modern photos, but keep in mind too that comes in handy, because if I'm looking at a photo of Plainfield Township Cemetery, it'd be nice to be able to see historic photos and modern photos at the same time to make that comparison, stones that are missing, stones that have been added, how things have changed over time. But it's not just images. There's a lot of organizations, Wisconsin History is one of them, that has added documents and maps to their Flickr account and not just stagnant standalone images.
Yeah, for sure. And Flickr is a great resource. I think Flickr, and I've seen a few things on Instagram that surprised me. Some old houses and landmarks that turned out to be connected to family history or somebody else's family history as well. So that's always fun too. And actually, it's not really social media related, but have you ever gone on eBay and done a search for one of your surnames? Mm-hmm. That's fun too. Sometimes you can find something. Sometimes there'll be a postcard or a scrapbook or a photograph that just pops out. or even to do like a city, if it's a small city, or a county. So like I've got a lot of relatives from Potter County, Pennsylvania, and typing that in, I'll get a lot of things, postcards with, you know, pictures from the town that my family lived there when they lived there. Things that are kind of cool, context-wise more maybe, but I'm still waiting for the day that I find the scrapbook or the family Bible pop up when I type in that surname.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And
Have
that
you gone
could
out to Card Cow and looked at the postcards that are for sale on Card Cow? Because they're scanned at a fairly good resolution. So a lot of times I've kind of, you're not supposed to do that, but I've grabbed screenshots of some of those. I always annotate that, you know, I got this online and how I got it, but you could buy them too. And a lot of them will have the front and the back, and you can search by the sender and the receiver. So it's not just necessarily searching by the town or the image. You can search by who's sending it as well.
And it's cow, just COW, Card Cow.
Yeah, Card Cow, just like it sounds.
Check that out as soon as we're done.
Well, Internet Archive too. I mean, they've got a pretty active social media presence too. So if you're following them on Facebook or on some of their other social media, they're kind of telling you, they have their own blog too. If you haven't read their blog, they haven't been as active on the blog lately as they have been in other places. But some of those go-to sites we use every single day, you know, have, you know, some pretty interesting social media posts.
Yes. And if you aren't using Internet Archive for your genealogy research, you need to be, because they have such an incredible searchable collection of local histories, county histories, biographies. Like it's such a phenomenal resource. Every time we talk about like searching for context or using, you know, your regular resources, non-database resources, I bring that up because it's just phenomenal.
Is there anybody on from Algonquin? Or not Algonquin, Antioch? Because Antioch just put 80 years of their newspapers up in Internet Archive,
Wow.
which covers the entire county. So last year when I was finishing up my pandemic research and that went live, I pulled all kinds of articles about McHenry and Lake County, about what was going on during the pandemic out of the Antioch papers. So it was fantastic.
So Louise says, if anyone's searching Czech ancestry, I highly recommend the Czech genealogy group on Facebook, and then she gives a link. So if you're researching your Czech genealogy, check out that link. And she says they have terrific volunteers. They have terrific volunteers that'll help you navigate with the online archives and help with basic translation. And then Shannon is plugging Dev Dudek, whose program Adventures with Lost Postcards using eBay, Etsy, Craigslist, and CardCow to break down genealogical brick walls, is going to be at Indian Trails in May.
Oh,
Hopefully our programs will all be out in May. But that sounds amazing. I actually hadn't heard of that program, and it sounds phenomenal. And Louise suggests also the Czech Bohemian Ancestry Genealogy Group, and gives a link for that one as well. Oh, Shannon says that Deb's program is going to be a live Zoom program in May.
Oh,
So that's great.
what date? Do they know the date?
I bet it's up on their calendar, if nothing else. She's going to find it for us.
Okay,
We'll come
thank
back to that. Thanks, Shannon. Awesome. So let's see, was there anything else that we wanted to cover? I think we kind of went through everything. So we've got only about 10 minutes left. So it seems like there are just really a number of different resources that we can use. And there were some that we didn't even mention, like History Pin. I know, Tina, you've done some work with them in the past, haven't you?
Yeah. History Pin is great. I'm a bigger fan of what was there, because I like the fact that when you're uploading your own images, you can like pan and move the photo around so it lines up with the modern Google Street View, which is just really cool to be able to put those together. And there's a guy out of Wheaton who he must have done his grandparents' house, but he lined that up spot on. They're amazing. So if you got to what was there, you have to go to Wheaton and look at those pictures, because he did an amazing job. And it's sort of social media-esque, but not really, because it's not terribly interactive. But it's a great way for those of us who have collections, whether it's our library or historical society or another group we're part of, to be able to put them up. Because if you put them up in what was there, unless somebody screenshots them, they can't download them. So unlike Pinterest, unlike Facebook or other places where somebody scrapes it and all of a sudden it shows up in their ancestry tree, these are ones that are a little harder to grab and claim.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are there any other, I'm trying to think of, there's one other social mapping one. It's not coming to me though, so it doesn't make a difference. Anyway, so I mean, between like the social mapping, the, crowdsourcing, between even the genealogy website resources that have built-in social functions and some of the social media presence on major platforms that we see with historical organizations, there are just so many options for you to really research your family history using social media. So hopefully you were able to find something useful. If anybody has any questions in the last few minutes here, we would be more than happy to answer them. And it looks like Shannon might have found the time. It looks like the program that Deb Judick is leading is going to be on Wednesday, May 27th from 7 to 8 p.m. Through Zoom. So if any of you are interested in that, you can register through the Indian Trails Library's website, which is indiantrailslibrary.org, I believe. Right, Shannon? I should know this. I was there a year ago, so. Or itpld.org will work too, and follow their links to the programs page. Otherwise, if we don't have any questions, I just thought I would let you all know what we have coming up here. So we're going to be doing these Zoom chats once a week for the rest of April at least, and quite probably going on into May. We will see what happens, but that is the plan for now. So if you have a topic you would like to see in May, please let us know and we can add it to the schedule if we can find enough people to talk about it who know anything about the topic. Let's see here if I can get this page to open so I can tell you what's going on. So coming up next week, April 15th at the same time, and it will be at the same link. So if you have this link saved, you can just come right back here, or you can follow the links. You'll also get a reminder email if you're registered for it. That will take you there as well. We'll be talking about doing online genealogy from home. So we'll be talking about different databases you can use from home as well as free websites. The following week, April 22nd, again at 6 o'clock at the same link, organizing your genealogy. So we'll be talking about different organization techniques. And our final one on April 29th, the topic has yet to be announced. So we will update you hopefully next week on what that one will be about if you're interested. And so I hope we see some returning faces. And I know we've had a lot of librarians here in this meeting tonight, and thank you all so much for coming. It's been a pleasure to get to see and talk to some of you again. I know we all miss our patrons and our coworkers so very much during this time. So does anybody else have anything else they'd like to say in wrapping up?
Well, Tara, thank you for hosting, and thank you everybody for being here. I love seeing so many familiar faces across my header of my computer.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Anne, and Anita, and Tina for coming, and to all of you for being here with us. And with that, I think we'll sign off. Have a great night, everybody. Hope to see you next week.
Thanks, Kara.
Good night. Stay healthy. Stay safe.
Bye.